to the Metal Command Podcast.
Greetings, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Metal Command Podcast. Tony here with you, and today I am here to talk about Firewind, and specifically about guitar player Gus G. Now, I have an upcoming interview with Gus G that will be coming on the channel here shortly. Did a great interview with him. Really cool dude. I have had him on my radio show over the years, and I think Firewind is an amazing band. But for me, Gus G, in my opinion, is one of the greatest guitar players of our generation. And sadly, and unfortunately, he's not recognized enough for this, in my opinion, because music has been devalued by so many people and by society over the last 30 years. Because I think Gus is a legendary guitar player. I really do. Obviously, Firewind is a great band. He played with Dream Evil in their early days, played with Mystic Prophecy in their early days, played with the band Night Rage, and of course, he played in Ozzy Osbourne. He's Ozzy Osbourne's guitar player for a little while as well. Before I get into this, if you do like what you see and hear on the channel, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell to be notified anytime I do post a video, and leave a comment. I want to know what you guys think about Gus G and about Firewind. Now, Firewind has a new live album out called Still Raging. It is a 20th anniversary show. Really, really great Blu Ray. I've been able to watch the concert. It's absolutely phenomenal. And of course, they have a new song called Destiny's Calling, which I think is great. And they are going to be releasing an album sometime in 2024, most likely early 2024. So I think, let's, get that out of the way here first before I get into this. But Gus, to me, and this is purely my opinion, a lot of people really have a high regard for his ability and for his guitar playing. And I'm going to say something that's really going to piss a lot of people off. I think he's the best guitar player Ozzy Osbourne ever had. A lot of people don't like to hear that, but I'll be honest with you, when you look at the body of work the other guys have done, Jake Lee, and it's not to say any of these guys suck. I think he's better than Zakk Wylde. I think he's better than Jake Lee was. In all fairness to Randy Rhoads, we never really got to see Randy's full potential because he passed away so young and so early. And obviously, Randy Rhoads is still probably going to be considered, and I would probably consider him too, the more influential guitar player, the most influential guitar player that played with Ozzy. Right? But Gus, to me, is on a completely different level than a lot of these guys. He just is, when it comes to his playing. The thing is, I look at resumes and I look at what people do. Now, I believe, for example, Zakk Wylde is doing a phenomenal job with the Pantera reunion thing. I know a lot of you don't like it. I think it's phenomenal. I think that they're putting on a great show. Props to them. And this is no indictment on what they've contributed to the metal scene, but really, when it comes to a guy like Gus, I consider him as good as so many of the legendary greats that we have seen over the years. And I think that gets overlooked. Again, I think music has been devalued big time. And Gus isn't the only one. There are a lot of other guitar players out there that I will tell you deserve to be mentioned along those lines as well. But they've been overlooked, and they never really achieved that legendary status because of how music has been devalued. Now, music's not the only thing that's been devalued. Art in general has sort of been devalued. Painters, photographers, musicians. And this has slowly been happening over time. And I'll be honest with you, there are a lot of people that agree with me. Some of you may disagree with me. That's fine. But I can tell you, from this chair for 25 years, I can tell you that it has been devalued quite a bit. And a lot of these legendary guys, these guys that are very, very talented and that are very, very good, are getting sort of overlooked and not mentioned amongst the greats that we've had in the metal scene. It is what it is. Now, as far as Firewind is concerned, as far as the Blu Ray is great. The new song is great. I'm going to talk about one other thing here really quick to touch this off. Herbie Langham's, he's the singer in Firewind. Now, the one thing I'm going to say about Gus as well, I've always said that it's bad for bands to swap members out way too much. It ruins the continuity within the band. The fan base is always left wondering, okay, what's this next guy going to sound like, right? Well, when it comes to guys like Gus G or, say, Jeff Waters from Annihilator, and maybe a few select other people out there in the metal scene, the one other talent Gus has had, besides his guitar playing, is the ability to bring the right people in the band as far as singers go, especially singers, because singers are the face of the band, and usually they are the most controversial thing when it comes to replacing a member, right? I mean, it's like, what's the singer going to sound like? Is he going to be good? We've seen this time and time again when a replacement singer comes in. But he has always managed to bring in a singer that really fits the band really well. So when it comes to Herbie Langham's, for example, I think Herbie Langham's, his voice is more reminiscent of, say, Stephen Frederick's, the first singer that Firewind had in the first couple albums. He sounds a lot like Stephen Frederick. I get that vibe from his voice. I think he's done a phenomenal job. Some people aren't big on him, but again, when you swap out a singer, it really, again, the fan base is like, okay, what is this guy going to sound like? But I think Herbie, not only did he do justice to the old material on the Still Raging live album that they put out, the new live album in Blu Ray, but the last Firewind album I thought was great. And when I look back on Firewind and I look at the singers, like Frederick was good. Chitty is a good singer. I don't personally, for my own preference, I don't think he fit the band as well as many of the other guys. I think he fit the band the least, and it's no criticism of his voice. It's just how I felt his voice fit the music. Really is where that goes into it. Apollo and Herbie, in my opinion, are the two best singers that Firewind has had. Henning was good. I almost forgot that he was even in the band. But Apollo and Herbie Langham's, to me, are the two best singers that the band has had. Looking forward, I like the new song quite a bit. I really dig the new song, Destiny's Calling. I'm going to put a link in the show notes to that. But overall, I think the body work that Gus has done over the years is just absolutely amazing. It's interesting because when I talk about me thinking Gus is the best guitar player Ozzy Osbourne ever had, there are a lot of guitar players that think that. Sadly, there are a lot of people that think that who don't want to say it because they are afraid of offending somebody. A lot of industry people that I've talked to. But overall, I think Gus is one of those guys in our generation over the last 20, 25 years that has basically been overlooked. I think Michael Romeo is up in that category as well. I think that guy, he would be another one. And I can name a lot of people. I can name a lot of people that could fit that are just tremendous talents that really aren't probably going to be mentioned in that legendary sense, at least not right now. And if the trend continues where music is being devalued by so many people and by society, they may never get mentioned, or hopefully maybe one day they get that status. Like if Gus started his career 20 years earlier, he would have that status. As far as, many people, many of the mainstream out there looking at him like that. I think he's up there. I think that, in my opinion, he is a legendary guitar player, at least for me. But overall, I consider him easily one of my top 5 guitar players that I've ever heard. In all seriousness, I really believe that. The guy is a tremendous player. If you listen to his solo albums are absolutely, positively amazing. They really, really are. Quantum Leap. In fact, Quantum Leap, his last solo album, Gus's last solo album, it reminded me of a Firewind record, but instead of vocals, he used the guitar to basically, play those parts, I guess, right? But overall, I'm going to tell you that solo album, when it came out, really blew me out of the water, actually. But anyway, look for the interview with Gus. I'm going to have that interview up very soon. We had a great talk. We talked about a lot of really cool stuff. Talked about the industry. We talked about where Firewind has been and gone, and talked about his career. We had a really great conversation. Really did. Most of the conversations I've ever had with him were about the current album, what the band has going on. Typically when there's a new singer, we talk about that. But now, being that it's 2023, we talk a lot about the career that he's had. Personally, for me, Firewind, the first couple records I thought were very good. In fact, I ended up getting into them. Burning Earth was the first album. The song I Am the Anger actually is one of my favorite Firewind songs to this day. But for me, the turning point for them was Allegiance, the fourth album. Because after Burning Earth, you had a new singer in Chitty. I thought that he just wasn't a great fit for the band. Love his work. The band Avalon, which is a band that he sang in, to me, to this day, was a great band. They really were. But when Apollo got into the band, and the Allegiance album came out, so that was their fourth album, that was the turning point for Firewind. And they have been on a steady stream of great records ever since. They've been putting out a steady streak of great records that I think have been very impactful, despite who sang on them, right? Apollo, to me, and Herbie are the two best vocalists I think they've had. Henning was good. Don't know what happened with him and why he isn't in the band anymore. I didn't ask that question, actually. I don't know why it didn't come up, but we were talking about so many other things going on. But I think the Immortals album is very good as well. So Firewind, one of the best, probably the best power metal band after 2000. If I had to take, if I was going to go back and look at all the newer power metal bands that have been around since 2000 that came out, after, the new millennium, they would probably be my favorite one when it comes to power metal. So anyway, I want to know your thoughts. Where do you put Gus G on the all-time greats list? Do you think he is possibly, in your opinion, the best guitarist Ozzy ever had? Do you like Firewind? And it's interesting because he had a hand in two really kick-ass bands, right, in the very beginning, with Dream Evil and Mystic Prophecy. And obviously being in so many bands, you can't do that, all of that at once. But I want to know your thoughts, folks. I want to know where you put him. Do you love his playing? Do you like Firewind? Where do you put him on your all-time list? So with that said, thanks for watching. Talk to you all soon. Stay metal.